Transitioning from one job to another is never easy. The same holds true for folks who leave the military to find gainful employment in the civilian sector. Hi, I'm your host, Montel Williams. And on today's Military Makeover Operation Career, we have 3 inspirational stories about veterans who found gainful employment after transitioning to civilian life. Our first story showcases a tech company that develops products, services, and perhaps just as importantly, solutions to ensure water quality and safety. Knowing how solution-oriented military personnel are, the recruiters at Evoqua have made it their mission to hire veterans.
The needs of veterans and their families are evolving, not disappearing. With more than a 100-year heritage of protecting water, the environment, and its employees, Evoqua Water Technologies is committed to those veterans who've donned the uniform of our country to protect us. Gary Barnes joined the U.S. Army after his senior year in high school. He believes it was one of the best pursuits he's ever made.
I served 3 years in the United States Army, from 1982 to 1985. My inspiration for joining the Army was my father. He did 2 tours of duty in Korea and 1 tour in Vietnam. So we grew up in a military life. I just wanted to follow in his footsteps and make him proud. It was an honor to follow that tradition and become a service member.
Nick Salinger admits he was willing to take on the world's greatest challenges.
I joined the United States Marine Corps when I was 18 years old. My family is intensely proud of my service. I was in the Marine Corps as a sergeant for 5 years. For me, serving, I just felt it was a noble thing to do, to serve my country. I had a lot of family history in the military and all branches of service, and I thought it was just something I wanted to explore.
Veterans, as they come out of the military, bring a lot of the attributes that align very well with the culture that we're trying to create. They have outstanding leadership attributes. They're very used to service and providing great service to customers, which is a lot of what we look for in many of the jobs within our organization.
For these veterans, life changed dramatically when their civilian paths crossed with Evoqua's commitment to hiring skilled veterans.
It was tough getting out because I was a truck driver, and you go to these companies and you say, hey, I did 3 years of truck driving in the Army, and they said, well, that's not experience, that's Army experience, that's not what we want. I didn't find Evoqua, Evoqua found me. It's been a rewarding career and very challenging, and it's an adventure every day coming in here and doing this, and be able to go home and enjoy my family and go fishing. I think that's what everybody looks for, basically. You want a stable job to come to every day and a good work environment.
During my transition, I was very headstrong. I really thought I was just going to attack college and the transition like I was still in the military, but it was an entire different world, and I was really thrown upside down. The worries I had of finding a job were really just finding an employer that would recognize me for my skills as a veteran that I had, but I needed to find an employer that was going to want me for the skills I already had. I had no background in math, science, or computer training, so it was a very rough journey. Near the end of school, I met my boss currently from Evoqua, who interviewed me, and I was able to secure a job there.
Today, both Gary and Nick have successful careers as part of the fabric of one of the world's leading providers of water treatment solutions, Evoqua Water Technologies.
You know, Nick and Gary are great examples of success in terms of the veterans that we've been able to bring into the company. Gary has been here for a long time, transitioned from the military, and is a perfect example of a guy that really brings hands-on, hard-working, loyal commitment to the organization, and has done a fantastic job for us for years. Nick comes to us in a more recent fashion, somebody who came in through our leadership development program. So I think really 2 tremendous examples of long tenure and short tenure, 2 different paths that they took coming out of the military as veterans, both of whom have been successful.
Evoqua's water solutions and services are relied upon in numerous markets, from municipalities that use the technology to purify drinking water to industrial manufacturers that use the systems to develop the products that run our world.
In the next 5 years, I see Evoqua being even more of a leader in water technology than they are now.
We do a lot of environmental work. Water is our most precious, valuable resource, so we want to make sure we have it for our future kids and everything like that. And so we're doing our part in cleaning everything up.
Evoqua is looking for the right people to drive innovation in meeting the world's most challenging problems. And there's no greater supplier of qualified individuals than our brave men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces.
We provide an environment that is entrepreneurial, that prides itself on teamwork, on hard work, on a high-performance culture. And I think it gives them the ability to transition from the military to a veteran status and use many of the attributes that they've acquired and immediately come in and be successful.
If you're a veteran, come check us out.
For more information on Evoqua water technologies and services and potential employment opportunities, please visit their website at evoqua.com.
This is the show all about you and your space, your home and surroundings. We're designing spaces.
Florida is known as the Sunshine State, but it could just as easily be called the Veteran State. The state has created a nonprofit corporation, Veterans Florida, to help veterans transition to civilian life. They provide career, entrepreneurial, back-to-school programs, which are all aimed at helping military personnel separate from the service.
After I left the military, I began helping other veterans who were also seeking new careers, helping them get into positions in engineering, operations, manufacturing, aerospace. Seeing that I was good on the recruiting side, I decided to make that part of my career moving forward out of the military and help those that needed the help the most. So I've been in the recruiting arena since about the late 90s. I did a number of interviews from operations to sales, and it was difficult for me as well to determine what my next step was going to be. So I figured if I was having issues with it, then there's multiples and hundreds of others that are having similar issues. My name is Joe Marino. I'm the Executive Director of Veterans Florida.
Hey, Joe. What makes Veterans Florida unique?
Here at Veterans Florida, we work with veterans to identify veteran-friendly employers that they can transition to upon leaving the service, or if they've already been out for a few years and still are trying to find that next career path.
So my story is a bit of a long one. The reason I left the military is that I had a bad parachute fall. We were doing a practice of an airfield seizure, and I messed up my ankle pretty bad. Then I went to Italy for 2 years to recover, and my injuries were severe enough that they elicited a medical board, and so I received a honorable medical discharge. Reaching out to Veterans Florida, I submitted my resume, and through their website, we did what was called a pre-screen, where he asked me a bunch of questions about what I was looking for, where I'm looking, and then we corresponded back and forth a few times. You know, he would tell me, oh, I have this position that's open.
My job as the employer outreach specialist is to, at the end of the day, create employment opportunities for veterans, trying to understand how a veteran can fit into their company. You know, there is always in the back of their mind some of those fears. If, you know, the mental issues, are they going to be a good employee? Are they going to stay there? The reality is most of these veterans are highly talented and wanting to come and work. but they have a difficult time explaining that, explaining maybe how their experiences fit into that company's goals and fit into that company's industry. We help these veterans break down their resumes in a way that the HR managers want to see it.
We're constantly opening doors with employers that have not necessarily thought about hiring veterans, but when we talk to them about the transferable skills in addition to the intangibles, the employers get very excited. And it's very rewarding to sort of see that click within the employer.
A lot of times when veterans transition out of the military, we require a lot of assistance.
I first came across Justin through a friend. He was having difficulty with his next transition. When Justin came to us for assistance, I noticed that he had a lot of coaching in his background.
So I got my baccalaureate degree in music education and had taught in public schools in Colorado. I was also a personal trainer and a weightlifting coach.
We actually had an opening on our team, and he didn't know about it.
Finding Veterans Florida, I ended up actually working there, which is fantastic. I'm a veteran employment specialist, so I take them from the initial contact all the way through job placement. Veterans Florida, this is Justin. How may I help you?
When you're a veteran and you join the military and you served, it doesn't go away. You want to serve. It's that drive to help others. It's a brotherhood, sisterhood like you can't imagine, and being able to provide that hand, provide that step up. Emotionally fulfilling, emotionally rewarding. I love being here. I love coming to work every single day.
These are real human beings with a real story and real need. It gives me even more pride, just because to be able to help somebody who is struggling, it's very important to me personally.
I would say to any veteran who is just beginning their transition, or any service member who's even about 12 months out, don't give up. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and working with the right team can help you identify that right opportunity to take that next step.
This is the show all about you and your space, your home and surroundings. We're designing spaces. We take on DIY projects, get creative with interior design, and get with the pros on remodeling and home improvement.
I can see myself living here. I really can.
Designing spaces.
Our next story highlights the efforts of one military spouse's desire to help other spouses who also work in the legal industry find or retain employment when they are transferred or relocated to another location. Take a look at this.
A leader in legal technology services and managed document review is looking for a few good military spouses. Husbands and wives of active personnel earn 26% less and face unemployment at a rate over 4 times greater than their civilian counterparts, because military families typically move every 2 to 3 years. That's why companies like TCDI have made it their mission to offer reliable and flexible career opportunities to active military spouses in the legal industry from anywhere in the country.
We started TCDI in Northern Virginia as one of the thousands of government contractors up there. I've been a programmer for 30 years, and that's my background. As part of that, we got into large-scale databases and dealing with large data. And one of the largest collections of data you can run across is in large-scale litigation, and that's how we got into litigation support and developing software specifically for lawyers to use. And that's how we got into the review business. That part of the business really took off, so we concentrated on that, got out of the government contracting business.
we do everything from cybersecurity to forensics, litigation management, and document review. So we have a variety of different clients. We work with clients in the tobacco industry, pharmaceuticals, automotive. The client will be involved in litigation. They'll go to the court, and the court will say, we need you to produce or give to the other side documents that fit certain criteria. We have teams go through and decide which documents should be produced, withheld, things like that, and then the clients evaluate and produce from there.
My original partner was a retired Army colonel, flew helicopters in Vietnam and everything. And then I was born overseas in Tokyo. My dad he wasn't military, but he was Army civilian. So we kind of came into the background with the company as being oriented towards military. We got into the document review business about 2 years ago, and one of our first hires was Jennifer Andrus. We didn't hire her because she was a military spouse. We found out she was a military spouse after she got on board, and we were talking about doing remote review, and she said, hey, this is a great opportunity. My husband is in the military, I've got to move, and this works out great. And it was her idea to kind of go full bore and look to utilize military spouses.
When you're married to the military, you get PCS'd or moved every 2 to 3 years pretty much. It's always going to be somewhere different. It could most likely be in a different state. And again, for an attorney, that's really tough because then you've got to take that new state bar exam. You've got to study for it, which is 6 months of time off for studying and then waiting for results and then hoping that you pass on the first try with all these things that may or may not have been taught to you in law school because the law being tested is different than what you learned. So it's very challenging for each move. When I came on board, I said, I know that military spouses face this challenge. I went through it. I know there's more people out there. I know that document review, as long as we can get the message out and really, work on that, something that would really benefit a lot of people. It's not just me. There's got to be more spouses in my situation.
Brian is a remote employee at TCDI, who not only is a veteran, he's been a military spouse as well.
So I entered the military out of high school, and I served active duty, and then I left active duty, went to the reserves, went back in active duty. I met my wife in the military. My wife and I married in 2000. So I've been a military spouse for several years. When I retired in 2013, I was looking for new opportunities to do document review. I fortunately found the opportunity through the Military Spouse Managed Review program. We meaning my wife and I, were living north of Chicago at a military base. And so upon her retiring, we decided to move west, and San Francisco in particular, and I wanted to continue doing document review. And so the opportunities were much more limited. I'm not licensed in California. It's a smaller city. And so for me, having that remote opportunity was even more important.
The people that we've been introduced to, the reviewers that we've been able to get to join the team, have just been terrific people. I mean, you get the background that they're military spouses, that they're making the sacrifice to their spouses and to the country. But on top of that, they're just people of the highest integrity. I mean, they fit well with the company. They work hard, and they're smart. I mean, they're not looking for a handout. They actually have superior capabilities in the legal industry. It's just hard for them to find work.
For more information on TCDI's Military Spouse Managed Review Program, please check out their website at tcdi.com.
This is the show all about you and your space, your home and surroundings. We're designing spaces. We take on DIY projects, get creative with interior design, and get with the pros on remodeling and home improvement.
I can see myself living here. I really can.
Designing spaces.
Separating from military service is a challenge on many levels, especially career-wise. But it's good to know that there are many companies out there that are actively looking to hire veterans. These companies recognize that veterans have a lot to offer because they're goal-oriented, disciplined, and they have a strong desire to get the job done. I'm Montel Williams, and I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Military Makeover Operation Career. See you next time.